What's up, guys? It is time once again to take a look at another wave of Super 7 Ultimates, and we're jumping into ThunderCats Wave 5 with the only good guy this time around, and a figure that completes, in many ways, another small subset of our collection. We're taking a look at Bengali. So we've got Pumira, we've got lynx-o, now we've got Bengali to round out the new ThunderCats, and getting us ever closer to having a more complete team. Now he comes in our standard style packaging, so you've got the slipcover with the good guys ThunderCats logo there on it, and ThunderCats logo on the back. Pop that slipcover off, and we've got Bengali there in the big window with all of his accessories, and then the back of the box gives us some great Jason Edmiston artwork with a bio for our Bengal cat. So let's do it. Let's pull him out and take a look. And here we go, out of the package, the one and only Bengali, the final ThunderCat from the new ThunderCats from our second batch. So we had Pumira for a really long time, especially if you were from the Maddie days, is what I'm specifically referring to. And we've had lynx-o for a while now also, and Bengali is going to round out that little trio. He has always been one of my favorite ThunderCats. I've got a thing for the tiger guys, I suppose. So Tigra and Bengali, I'm sure they're very similar kind of thing going on there for me. But this figure, I think we might have our current best ThunderCat figure. If I had to go out on a limb on this one, I'm really liking this figure in particular, from overall design, deco, accessories, and the feel. This guy reminds me of how I felt when I got Monkeyin from Wave 4. He feels different. He feels more in line with what you want these figures to feel like from the beginning until now. So that's a good positive. That's a really good thing for me. It certainly feels like we're, again, trending in the right direction. So let's see what he can do, see how he moves around. He is going to be kind of exactly what you expect. He's very similar to Tigra, but they're not just repaints or anything like that. He's just kind of similar to Tigra. So you've got a head that's, well, it pretty much just looks forward and then down a little bit, but mostly just forward, a little bit down. You do have a slight bit of bobble, full rotation, arms out at the shoulders, rotates. We've got a bicep swivel. You've got a single jointed elbows, but they are super limited. I mean, you can get almost 90, but they feel a lot more limited than that because of this band on his wrist. Hinges, rotation at the wrist. You've got a crunch at the waist, or well, the abs rather, backwards. Really good forwards. Like the crunch on him is really nice and very smooth too. The waist twist also very smooth, but tight, if that makes any sense. Legs out pretty far, almost the splits. They kick forward about all the way. As usual, you've got kind of the diaper thing going on here. We go backwards slightly. There is a thigh twist up in there. Single jointed rotating knees. But he also has a boot cut. So you've got a boot cut at the boot because he's got a perfect break for it, so why not? And then we've got rocker and really good hinges down at those ankles. And everything, like I said, feels pretty tight. Not in a sense that I'm worried about it. It just feels, I don't know, feels like the tolerance is where it needs to be. It doesn't feel like anything's moving out of turn. It doesn't feel like anything is going to snap off. It doesn't feel like anything is loose. It just feels, I guess it feels like how it's supposed to feel. So everything moves and stays in place really, really nicely. Now, visually, this is truly what I was most interested in with this figure, and, I say that a lot when it comes to Ultimates because it is all about the looks. We don't really necessarily buy these because they're the most dynamic figures ever. We know they're not going into that. This guy is just one that I like his design. Same with Tigra. I like Tigra's design. I like Bengali's design. Again, I'm sure there's a Tiger thing there somewhere for me. But this figure kind of worried me because he's so white. Like, he's super, super white, like incredibly bright, vibrant. It could either go horribly wrong or just incredibly right. And I think this is an instance of it going right. Not only is this figure super clean, like, for real, there is not a single blemish on this figure. Everything looks like it should. Everything is in place. Everything is very tight when it comes to its paint and overall just quality control, I suppose. But I was worried about all this white. Like, it was either just going to be funky or it was just going to be right. And I think they did a really solid job here. I mean, the white is as white as it's going to get. And especially up in the hair, it's super, super bright and vibrant. I mean, it hits you when you see how white this guy is. Not to mention the fact that it is incredibly striking with all of the line work on the neck and the collar area, the hair, the forearms, and then all of this blue. It's incredibly striking. It reminds me of the Filmation Hordak figure that Super7 did. It was another instance of that went really, really right, and these guys line up incredibly well when it comes to color scheme. So it's kind of more of the same. So if you've got that figure, you might have an idea of what I'm trying to convey. But I think Bengali looks fantastic. He is, again, he's not just a carbon copy of Tigra, even though, you know, that's kind of what a lot of people, I think, associate with him, is like, oh, it's just a white striped Tigra. But it's not. They are very different in composition, overall build, and then just, you know, what they're wearing. Even though their kind of boots are very similar, they're not the same thing. So stuff like that. He's not necessarily as muscular or as beefy as some of the other ThunderCats. I mean, he's definitely got some muscle here, but he's not as defined, I suppose. And that kind of differentiates him a little bit, because, you know, these guys were not necessarily warriors. Bengali was a blacksmith, so there's a little bit of a differentiation going on. But I think Super7 and the Horsemen did a just fantastic job on this guy. I'm really happy with the way he turned out. And again, not just because of the way he felt and how he moved. I feel like he is probably one of the best, if not the best, ThunderCats so far. I just think they nailed his look. I'm really happy with the way it turned out. You know, his harness looks really good. It's just a different enough shade of blue to stand out and pop against yet another blue shirt. Tampoed logo on that is incredibly nicely done. You know, I've had some problems with my ThunderCats logos on various figures, but this one is super clean and crisp. He does have the little sheath for his hammer, which I'll admit I'm not the happiest with the implementation of this. It's yet another instance of a peg like what lynx-o has for his claw shield, but it does work and it holds his hammer really nicely. And then of course, you know, we have this head sculpt, and again, you know, white is an area where things can go really wrong, but it's super clean, super crisp. All the line work is really on point. Everything is where it needs to be. The stripes in the hair are really nice. Even this blue shock of hair on the back looks good, but then the facial features are nice. The expression is just slightly enough, you know, to differentiate it from just being this sort of stoic, lifeless expression. He does have a little bit of a thing going on, kind of a smirkish type of expression, but the eyes super clean and crisp, those white eyebrows up there, and then of course the blue, I guess you almost mask like what you on his face, does look really good. But again, just super clean, super crisp, very bright, vibrant, striking colors that really pop against all of this other white that, again, was just executed really, really well. Now, as far as some size comparisons go, we've got Pumaira here on the left, and this is the Super7 version, and lynx-o here on the right. And, you know, right out the gate, Pumaira is still too tall, and that's never not going to be an issue unless they remake her again. So she is still too tall compared to Bengali and lynx-o, but I think Bengali scales pretty well to lynx-o himself. Now let's move her aside and let's do, you know, another male ThunderCat that is, you know, relatively okay. And there is lynx-o. This is the Mattel version. He just happens to be handy right now, but you can see that these three line up pretty decently. I'm pretty happy with the overall scaling when it comes to the majority of the male figures. Pumaira is still really the only oddball at this point. And then, of course, you know, one more, because this is the one that has the most, I guess, direct comparison, I would expect anyway. So here he is with Tigra from Wave 2. And you can see they're pretty comparable. You know, Tigra still has a little bit on him, and it's not like they're just a recoloring. You know, Bengali's not just a white and blue Tigra. They are very, very different in composition and overall build, really. Tigra does seem to be a lot more svelte than Bengali is, but I think this looks pretty good to me. And then let's do, I don't know, another different line. Let's do Black Series. So here is Cobb Vanth. He remains and continues to be handy. And here is a Figuarts. Here is Goku, you know, your standard Saiyan Raised on Earth Goku, and you get an idea of what he looks like, you know, with some more 112-ish kind of figures. And then let's pull Goku aside and we'll do a different 7-inch scale line. Here he is with a Mythic Legions with Lord Dragul. So you can get an idea of what he looks like. You know, I think he scales pretty nicely within ThunderCats, specifically when you take Pumaira out of the equation. He's probably going to be a little too big for 112 stuff, but he's going to scale really nicely with other 7-inch lines as well. And then as far as accessories goes, you know, I've already said Bengali has a really solid spread of accessories, and he's a little bit different from a lot of the other figures we've gotten so far, because his accessories really are setting a very specific scene. There is maybe one thing I kind of wish they included here just to, make it a little bit more robust. But overall, there's a lot of stuff in here, and frankly, some weird accessories when you think about just what they actually are. So to start with, we do get the extra head sculpt here, and this one I really like. So you've got like these sort of bright yellow eyes. He's definitely angry. He's got kind of like an Elvis thing going on almost with the lips. But this is another instance of Super7 giving us, like a battle expression type of head. And I'm glad to get kind of back to these after some figures didn't have them, like Shitara didn't have one, for example. But I do think this one looks pretty fantastic. I'm not so sure that it's my preferred head sculpt just yet, because I like his regular one just fine. This is a really good, slightly smirking standard head sculpt, but this one's also really good too. So you have the pick of two solid head sculpts as far as I'm concerned. We do get a few sets of hands. So he's got these sort of clawed style pose hands that we see a lot in this line. We get 3 additional sets. So of course, that makes a total of 6. So you get a set of fists. We get a set of vertically hinged gripping hands. And we get a set of laterally hinged, those are fists, wrong one. Laterally hinged gripping hands. There we go, take 2. So he's got 8 total hands, 4 different sets. We get his hammer, which I think is just tremendous. The amount of paint applications on this is pretty wild. I mean, there's at least 5 or 6 different colors. The sculpt is incredibly unique. This thing looks even better than the renders, which I'm quite certain were not accurate at the time of rendering. So if you go back to look at those, you might notice some differences. You've got the little bola down here at the bottom, but this just looks great, and it does fit in his holster. He can hold it just fine in the gripping hands. But this is a very cool, very signature accessory for Bengali. And then we get kind of the weird, very specific scene type of stuff. So we get, to start with, we get this chunk of ore, which you might want to use if you're trying to setting a scene. We get his anvil, which also has the ore on it already. And this is already a very large, very non-dynamic kind of accessory, so we're definitely setting a scene. So you've got, all the silver chrome on there, metallic rather, and the ThunderCats logo emblazoned on both sides. And I mean, this is a big accessory. It's a big old thing. You can have him whomping on that ore, because of course he was a blacksmith. And then we get the pedestal here as well, which also looks fantastic and is, again, this is a really big, very specific kind of accessory, because the scene they're trying to set here is one where Bengali is able to reforge the Sword of Omens. So you've got this one right here. This is the one where it has been reforged and it is red hot. You've got the the eye on there. You've got some of that teal paint, and I think this looks great. I'm really happy with the way this turned out. It's really cool. It doesn't show very well against my background, but we've got an orange and yellow, red hot, so to speak, Sword of Omens, and I think this is tremendous. Again, some very weird accessories, but very specific to Bengali, so I'm really happy to see this stuff, regardless of how specific you're going to need to use it. What I wish he included, and this is just wishful thinking, I wish he included a broken Sword of Omens, because that's the whole point of this. He's putting it back together after Tugmug snaps it in half, so maybe we'll get it with him down the road. Maybe that's foreshadowing of a Tugmug coming. Who knows? That's just wishful thinking on my part, but I'm pretty happy to see that we got this stuff. It is really odd. It's really weird in the confines of an accessory set, but it is very specific to a scene. So that's why I said that, he's a little bit different, because a lot of the other ThunderCat accessories are kind of, all over the place or reaching for very esoteric things, while his is very heavily concentrated on setting the scene of reforging the sword. So pretty cool stuff. I mean, I love the hammer the most. I think this is tremendous. Really nice job on it. Sculpt is great. Paint is top notch. And then of course you get another great head sculpt and a smattering of hands. So yeah, overall, super happy with Bengali. Like I said, he is very much in the same realm as Monkeyan for me. They're kind of counterparts. Monkeyan felt great, looked fantastic, had a good, solid array of accessories, and just felt like we were going in a different, better direction. Bengali feels like that, but for the good guys, basically. So I'm really happy to see where this is going, to see that we've gotten, maybe some improvements with the line. He does have some articulation limitations, but nothing you're going to be surprised about, really. It's how this line is structured. He looks fantastic, though. Paint is super clean and crisp. Really happy overall with everything in terms of how he looks. And then he comes with an awesome, if not very specific, array of accessories, but it works really well in the confines of what kind of character he is, what he did in the show, things like that. So it's kind of cool to see them going maybe a little bit of an extra mile to give us some of these very esoteric, bigger accessories that very much set a scene for him. So that's going to do it for this look at the Super 7 ThunderCats Ultimates Bengali. Let me know what you guys think. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe, and share, and until next time.